Viewers, thank you for joining us on Times Now. This is a special broadcast. I have with me Aditya Pittie. He needs no introduction. His latest book, Viksit Bharat, India 2047, has just released. Many thanks, first of all, Aditya ji, and congratulations on this majestic work. Before we do a deep dive on the new book, please tell us what led to writing this book, this comprehensive account of Modi's vision to develop India by 2047.
Namaskar, Praneshji. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. One of the main motivations, Praneshji, was today we're in a world full of opinions and biased narratives. So I think the best way to counter that is with data and numbers. I'm an engineer, my education is, scientific. So I think numbers don't lie. I always like to use one quote: in God we trust, rest must bring data. This is by the famous quality guru W. Edwards Deming. So that was one of the big motivations to tell a narrative with data rather than opinions.
Now, in the preface of your book, you've begun with a powerful quote by Swami Vivekananda: every nation has a message to deliver, a mission to fulfill, a destiny to reach. Why do you believe, what do you believe is the unique message that Bharat has for the world?
Praneshji, Bharat is an ancient civilization. And I think as we are climbing up the charts of the world economy rankings, in a sense, we are at number 4 today, will be number 3 in a couple of years. I think we are just reclaiming, what was rightfully ours. As you know, in the most of the, 1200 years, from 1 BCE, we have been controlling nearly a quarter of the world's GDP. So this is kind of a rise back to our civilizational kind of identity and our rightful place in global affairs. So I think that that quote by Swami Vivekananda ji is very apt. And essentially my idea is that if you don't know where you're coming from, you don't know where you're going.
It's interesting that, early on in the conversation and because of the preface, you've invoked our culture, India's civilizational roots. So let me ask you this. You speak of balancing technological advancements with the richness of our culture. But there's another argument to this, which is the rapid pace of, what does one say, digitization and Western influence. Now, do you believe there is a risk that our traditional values and the so-called indigenous knowledge system will be sidelined or, compromised, for lack of a better word?
I personally don't think so, Praneshji. Even in our new education policy in India, we have integrated the Indian knowledge system, IKS, into it. So I think in India we can balance and we are balancing, modern technology along with a reminder and understanding of our ancient culture and heritage. Honorable Prime Minister speaks of Vikas bhi, Virasat bhi, and I think we are balancing these things now.
Now, I've made my notes. I've gone through the book fleetingly. And in the book, you mentioned, and I'm quoting now, as India marches towards its centennial year of independence in 2047, the vision of Viksit Bharat serves as a guiding light, inspiring collective action towards realizing the nation's aspiration of becoming a developed and prosperous society. The goal is to achieve a per capita income exceeding $18,000 and grow into a 30 plus trillion dollar economy, firmly placing India among the developed nations. Many people will say that is this target achievable, realistic? Is the vision realistic?
Praneshji, this is a great question. In fact, incidentally, in the book, I've written a section called The Mathematics of this $30 trillion economy and the $18,000 per capita income. So, in a very simplistic terms, I've shown for the average reader that from a $4.3 trillion economy approximately today, to achieve a target of 30 plus trillion in 22 years would require a compounded annual growth rate of about 9.2%. I've also broken this down into a simple rule of 72, which shows you, how many years it would take to double the economy at a growth rate. One mustn't forget, Praneshji, that 9.2% is a nominal growth rate. And if you deduct inflation from it, it gives you a real growth rate, which India is comfortably achieving even today, despite, global uncertainties and headwinds. Just quickly, a good analogy I like to give, it's like a T20 cricket match where all I'm trying to say is that the run rate required is quite reasonable and doable, provided we keep up with our reforms and all the good things that we are doing. It's not like we need 20 or 30 runs to win that, T20 cricket match. The run rate required is quite reasonable.
Talking of the run rate and the target that we've set for ourselves, that by 2047 we have this target of a 30 plus trillion-dollar economy. Let me quote to you, and I'm sure you remember what Donald Trump had said about the Indian economy. He said it's a dead economy. I don't care what India does with Russia, etc., etc. How do you see that?
Uh, you know, if you're the fastest growing major economy in the world, like I mentioned, at 6.5% growth rate, which we have in India, we have, very low inflation rate. The last numbers that came out were about 1.6%. In fact, in economics, we are in what is called a Goldilocks period. If people remember some of their, childhood stories, where high growth rate, low inflation, along with this tremendous demographic dividend we have in India of a young workforce, a strong domestic consumption-led economy. So if somebody calls that, a dead economy, I think it's time to probably, go back to the schools and hit the textbooks, I think.
Your book contains a lot of statistics and data. Now, because every time, someone talks about Modi nomates or Modi's economic vision for India, there is a sense of ridicule that is thrown at them from the, from the critics, ecosystem, whatever you want to call them. They would ask you, and I'm playing devil's advocate, how did you go about gathering and verifying this information? And what were the biggest challenges you faced while dealing with such extensive number crunching?
Pranesh, that was one of the biggest challenges. So, the reference citation section in my book is 40 pages long, giving you an idea of where all the data has come from. I've used multiple sources, all publicly available information from reliable sources. And in a lot of cases, I've also triangulated the data and tried to average it out as well. So, also in my preface, I say this that, I encourage readers to do their own fact checks if they want, go deep into it because ultimately data is data and one must, rely on it. The other big challenge, Pranesh ji, was that by the time, writing a book takes a long period of time. And once it gets published, that takes another few months. So a lot of this data, as an author, I'm sad is probably outdated. But as a proud Bharatiya and an Indian citizen, I'm very proud that most of this data is outdated because that shows the speed and scale with which India is progressing. In fact, to a lot of my critics, I ask them that, challenge me with good data, but do cite where your data is coming from, not, WhatsApp University. And I also challenge them that if you check the data today, I'm more or less certain that your number would be larger than any of my numbers because that's how fast, things are
The rate
progressing.
of growth. That's well said. Aditya ji, Viksit Bharat envisions both economic prosperity and, social equity as the concept goes. But in practice, rapid economic growth, as we've seen also, and I'm sure of the commentary around us, rapid economic growth often deepens inequality. This keeps, coming up. Now, keeping this in mind, I just want to understand from you, how do you think India can, prevent development from becoming what is now known as urban centric? Or you have pockets of development, but there are large gaps.
Sure, Praneshji, this is something there are times when inequality increases. This is a natural journey and progression as the nations, progress and get more and more developed. However, in India, I think Honorable Prime Minister's vision is to have both a top-down as well as a bottom-up approach. So top-down is typically industrialization, etc., which leads to employment, trickle down, income in the hands of people, which further trickles down into the economy. But I think along with that, what the government's focus and strategy is to also do bottom up. So all the targeted social welfare schemes, as we've lifted 250 million people out of extreme poverty. Food grains are being given out to people at an astonishing, scale. All the direct benefit transfers, etc. So I think in a country like India, with this both, two-pronged strategy, will hold us in good stead going forward. So, I'm not very concerned. Also, the data shows that actually income inequality is reducing a little bit in India. In fact, in other developed countries, especially like the United States, that has grown, the disparity has grown alarmingly large.
Right. Now, in the book, you've also cited, initiatives like the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, for example, Digital India, as examples of the kind of public participation leading to, significant gains. How crucial do you think is this idea of collective effort, as the Prime Minister keeps referring to it, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, and Sabka Prayas?
Honestly, Praneshji, this has been one of the big motivating factors for me to write this book. And one of the messages that I am trying to bring home, not only in the book, but wherever I get a chance to speak or interact with people. Because I honestly believe, Viksit Bharat, I'm a corporate person. So for me, Viksit Bharat is like a vision and mission statement for the country. And I think, it is not something that only a few people will achieve by 2047 and hand it to the rest of us like a, present, well packed, etc. I think all citizens will have to step forward and do something in their own way for nation building. It can be something as small as, you respect the traffic rules. Why do you need to jump the red light? Why do you need to come from the wrong direction? So for me, even if you do that, that is nation building and your contribution to Viksit Bharat.
Yeah, so tiny steps do make a lot of difference.
And everyone's collective effort,
Right.
Praneshji. Honestly, if we all take one step forward, the nation, in a sense, figuratively takes 140 crore steps forward.
Well said. Now, Aditya ji, you've written this, voluminous book and covered a lot of things. But if I were to ask you that, in your view, what are the top three strategic priorities, whether it is policy, something else, that India as a country must address or Modi as Prime Minister needs to focus on to realize the vision of, Viksit Bharat by 2047?
Praneshji, I think even in light of current geopolitics, one of the main things to focus on is Make in India, Atmanirbharta. We have to be self-reliant, manufacture most things in India, make in India, make for the world in India. The other thing is we do need world-class infrastructure. So the government's emphasis on infrastructure is spot on. Those, efforts need to be redoubled. And the other thing is I feel, really working on ease of doing business. A lot of work is happening with the Jan Vishwas Act, etc. But we really need to go deep into process reforms so we can really unleash the animal spirits of our economy, as they say. So, working on these efforts, honestly, I believe that, whatever headwinds we are facing today can turn out to be tremendous tailwinds and, boost our economic growth rate tremendously.
You were talking of the Prime Minister's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat, Atmanirbharta as he calls it, self-reliance. Now, many in the opposition or Modi's critics of Modi's economic policy say that this is a mere jumla, a thing to distract. How would you address that?
Uh, the eyes see what the mind is ready to behold, in a sense. I always am a data person. I'll take you to data. See the tremendous achievements that have happened under the production linked incentive scheme, PLI, the kind of investments that have come in, the kind of manufacturing boost. Two examples here is, India used to virtually make no mobile phones even 5 years ago. Today, we are the second largest mobile phone manufacturer in the world. The other thing is defense. We were always an importer of defense equipment. Today, India is not only manufacturing for itself, but also exporting a lot of defense equipment globally. I think the last data that came out is I think our defense manufacturing and exports have hit something like 1.5 lakh crores.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the controversy of the year, which is Trump's tariff tantrums, as many people are calling it. Are you surprised, or you thought, this is how Donald Trump operates?
Uh, Pranesh ji, honestly, my reading, it's very unfair and irrational. But I think, we need to take this as an opportunity to really kind of boost our own reforms and our own, growth story. This is the time to turbocharge reforms, never let a good crisis go to waste. I also don't see this as much of a crisis. I think I use the word headwind. Moody's says that this could probably shave off 0.3% of our target GDP growth rate in FY26 if it continues. Our economy, we can take this in our stride. We are, in a good position fiscally. We have $700 billion of forex reserves. And in fact, I think if we really take these actions, turbocharge reforms, and Honorable Prime Minister has been speaking about this since his speech on 15th August from the Red Fort and in other public rallies. I think this could honestly become, we could, boost our growth rate by maybe 2%. And this would net, just help us grow faster. In fact, I wrote an article recently, and cheekily in the last line, I wrote that it's possible that by next year, we could just send a thank you note to them for having inadvertently accelerated our Viksit Bharat plans by a decade.
That is some optimism. So you believe there is, it has to be taken positively, and who knows, what happens because of the challenges thrown at India. Finally, Aditya ji, let me ask you this: there's whenever you discuss economic policies, Modi nominates, there is that China question, the Indian economy versus the Chinese economy, the difference in the growth rates, the fundamentals of both economies. Prime Minister Modi has gone to China. That is a visit that is much talked about. The world is watching that. If you had to explain to a layman the difference between the Chinese economy and the Indian economy and what India can learn from the Chinese economy, what would you say?
A couple of things, Praneshji. A, there is large differences in the structure of government. That's a command and control, dictatorship. We have a democracy here. So the structure is very different, and those bring different challenges. However, instead of worrying about the differences, I'm a very positive person. I see the, Chinese growth story as a case study, along with the Japanese or South Korean stories. So essentially, we talked about a little while back that we need this, growth rate sustained over the next couple of decades to become a developed nation. So all I want to say is, Japan, South Korea, and China did exactly this at different points in time, different points in history. In fact, they achieved higher growth rates over a longer sustained period. So this tells me as a case study, as an analyst, that what we are proposing to do is, has been done before. And again, the targets or growth rates we require are lower than what these countries needed and what they were able to achieve.
Okay. That's a fair assessment. Let's see what comes out of this meeting and this tour of Prime Minister Modi in China. Aditya Pittie, thank you for your time. Thank you for having this conversation. And congratulations once again on your book, Viksit Bharat, India 2047.
Thank you so much, Praneshji.
Thank you.
Thank,
Pleasure talking to
thank,
you.
thanks.